Listen, I know that this podcast is all about problem solving and you want to get better and you want to look at the things that need improvement in your life as a passionate performer, but we need to stop and acknowledge that there are telltale signs that you are growing, that you are evolving, that you are becoming the singer that you have always wanted to be. And we're going to break down what some of those things are.
Hola, my friend. I'm Melissa V. Cartwright, and welcome to the Passionate Performer Podcast. You have a voice that deserves to be heard, and you also deserve to have a performance career where you don't feel like you're sacrificing who you are to meet the demands of the industry. So we are here to help you problem solve those challenges, figure out why we're feeling the way we do, and give you the next right step. You ready? Let's go.
Dear passionate performer, thank you so much for joining me for this episode. Like I said at the beginning, okay, I know that we're all about problem solving the challenges that arise in our lives as people who love to sing, who have chosen to do this in front of an audience, whether as a hobbyist or you're getting paid for it. But today's episode, we need to stop and celebrate, especially because you have been working so hard. And I'm going to draw inspiration from some of the testimonials of some of our Passionate Performer program members. These are people like you who love to sing, who have said, you know what, I am making an investment of time, resources into fulfilling this dream that I have, this call I feel like I have in my life to do something that is for me and also that I want to share with other people in my life, whether it is millions of people in a stadium or it's with another person, however you have chosen to share your voice. And it's important to note that we are talking about not just singing for self-care, which is an important practice, but singing because you also want to up-level your artistry. This is what this is about. People who take action, who make the investment, who do the thing, it's because you're in a season of your life where you feel like life is calling you to a higher level. And so what does that higher level look like in our singing, in our performance journey? So I know that you're going to be fired up and inspired by the end of this episode. So have you ever found yourself, and this is a very human response, when you receive praise for doing something that you love, aka your singing, you feel a little weird. You almost feel like, ooh, I don't know if I want this attention. And isn't that ironic that we will behave in that manner, but yet we still choose to get up on a stage in front of an audience, right? So you know that you are evolving and becoming a confident artist when you can receive praise without shrinking. Okay. This one beautiful performer that I work with, she is a pro. She has worked with professional theaters. She really wants to go to New York, make the Broadway dream happen, or at least work regularly in regional professional houses. And for the first time, probably in a long time, she said, Melissa, I was doing a show. And for the first time, someone paid me a compliment afterwards and told me how lovely my voice was, how much they enjoyed my performance. And I actually internally thought to myself, yeah, that's true. And I didn't feel weird about it. Like, I know how hard I've worked. And granted, this individual, and this has happened to me before, and I'm sure this has happened to you too, acknowledging that, yeah, that is true. We may have been pre-programmed to believe that thinking that or even entertaining that thought is erring on the side of being conceited. In conversations about conceit versus confidence, I have to remind myself, and I tell my clients this as well, conceit is elevating yourself at the expense of others. Confidence is you being your first champion. And it's embracing and being able to celebrate others that helped you along the way, right? So there's a difference. One wants to minimize everybody else. The other is inviting and celebrating with everyone else. So to sit there and internally being able to, number one, receive good, positive feedback without feeling weird. And the flip side of that is acknowledging internally that, yes, this is a factual statement. This is true. I have validated myself before needing external validation from anyone else. That is the power of that moment, because you are the only person who knows how many hours you've invested, how much money you have spent on your training, everything that you have done to prepare to put yourself in performance situations that you want to be in, that you've been dreaming about. Nobody knows internally what's been happening inside of you as you've been doing these things. The emotional journey that this whole call to being a passionate performer entails, with working through doubts and limiting thoughts and being able to stay focused if you receive negative feedback, especially unwarranted negative feedback, because again, nobody knows your journey like you do. So to be able to receive praise without shrinking is huge. And if you have found yourself in these moments here lately, I would say, journal through them or save those encouraging emails. And we talked a little bit about this in last week's episode with Sophie Adickes about the importance of documentation of the positive reinforcement, whether that's an email, a journal, taking snapshots of comments, that you've received online or whatever, because that fans the flame. That reminds you of, okay, yeah, I believed this first of myself, that I am a confident artist, and now other people in my life or other people that I've just met are able to see the same thing. And listen, just because you still feel a little weird receiving that kind of feedback, I don't want you to listen to this and think like, oh, something's wrong with me. I'm encouraging you to sit in it, because if this is something that you want to do with regularity, and you are, mastering your skills and you're showing up with excellence, people are going to notice. I want you to be able to get comfortable with processing that information, maybe having a buddy, a mentor, I don't know, your counselor, your therapist that you can talk through these things with and process out loud is probably the most important grounding tool, so that all the other extraneous circumstances, you can hear them, you can respect where people are coming from, but at the end of the day, it's about what you believe for yourself. And what you know to be true is that you have been working your butt off. You were the one given the opportunity to share, right? To share your voice. It could have been anyone else, but you were chosen to do the thing, and you have also chosen yourself. So another sign that you are evolving into a confident artist is that you start becoming a playful explorer, not just a rule follower. Let me explain. I have a beautiful client I've been working with for like 11 years now, and her voice training journey has always been therapeutic, meaning this is a hobby for her. This is singing for self-care. But she has also stepped into performance opportunities, whether they were sponsored by her studio or she's sung in the community at her church and in other settings. And being a part of our membership has helped her realize, I've always been a little funny about referring to myself as a performer or as an artist, but I don't feel that way anymore. She regularly shares with me and with our fellow members inside of our group that she was such a rule follower that she would have a family member who would sing along to the radio. And if they did not sing the song exactly like the artist they heard on the radio, she would get so annoyed, so bothered by that. So when she started her voice training journey, we had to make sure that she followed parameters, because that's how she received information best, right? Like, I need to learn how to breathe right. I need to do this. I need to do that. And when you're starting your journey, of course, you're going to tackle things like singing fundamentals, breath support, tone, pitch, all those things. That gave her the confidence to play, because there comes a moment, and you have probably found this to be true, where when someone says, let's just play, but they don't give you any parameters to play within, sometimes that feels really unsettling, especially if you're someone who's like, I really want to feel like I'm mastering something at the same time. And then that gives me the boost of confidence to try, an improvisation or an ad lib or doing it a little differently. I totally understand if that is the way that your brain works and your learning process works. So this has taken years for this particular singer to experience this. But because she now embraces the form of play, right? The confidence of, oh, what the hell? Let me just try it and not shy away from it. That has added to her confidence. It has fueled her confidence over the years to the point where she was like, just a couple of years ago, saying, I wouldn't dare introduce myself to someone as a singer. Now, in a conversation, I can tell them I do this and that, and I'm also a singer. And sometimes she's even said, I'm also a performer. I'm also an artist. That takes so much courage to be able to say that out loud, but now she can with confidence because she's given herself the permission to play. So what this looks like in her training sessions is that we might say, hey, let's take this phrase. We're going to listen to the original artist first. Let's try it just like them. And then the next prompt is, you know what? The phrase of that song ends high. Why don't we try it lower? And then boom, immediately the brain's like, I know what to do. I know where to go. And then there are no wrong answers in that setting because you feel like you have bumpers. So even if you are a type A, super organized, rule-following artist, okay, and you're being challenged in this season of your life with improvisation, with ad-lib, with trying new things, there's a way to go about this that still brings security. That still makes you feel like, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing. Or I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but at least I have clarity on what I want to try, if that makes sense, right? So she's also said, and this is probably the biggest win, that her artistic playfulness bleeds into other areas of her life, yeah? She's not so anxious about making certain decisions, even if she doesn't have all the information in front of her. Whereas before, she had to know as much as possible before making the decision. Now she feels like she has an intuition, like she can trust her gut, as we say, because she's been able to practice that type of improvisation, that type of flow in her singing. And now in other areas of her life, she finds that, you know what? I can go with the flow a little bit better. And even if the outcome is not what I expected it to be, it doesn't affect me in the same way that it used to, where I was either really angry with myself, angry at other people, because I had these mismanaged expectations or unreasonable expectations. The stakes are lower for her artistry as well as for the way that she lives her life. I mean, talk about how singing is life. Like football is life, like from Ted Lasso, singing is life in this regard. And what a beautiful, I can call it testimony of the power of singing in someone's life. So if you struggle a little bit with everything having to be perfectly laid out for you, and you have to read every single note on the page, and if it's not on the page, you come undone, kind of challenge you this week. Why don't you do what we do in a lesson? Try taking one phrase from a song, any song that you're listening to this week, and invert it. Instead of going down, go up. If the singer traditionally goes up, try going down. Just that one little exercise, right? Of just dipping your toes in the improvisation pool, jumping out if you need to, getting used to that water, if we're going with this analogy, and then just get curious with how you feel doing that. You might find that thread of imagination, that thread of improvisation leads to other discoveries in your singing and how you want to show up in performance spaces. So the last win that I want to share with you is you can tell you're growing from becoming a singer to a confident artist when you're no longer waiting for permission to be seen. We've talked about this in different episodes in the past, but there's a narrative, especially when I work with my adult artists, about growing up in settings where you were told, be quiet, you're making too much noise, or are you really sure you want to do singing as a career? Is that viable? Or let's just get that singing thing out of your system and then move on to other more important, and I'm doing air quotes, things. And so when we work together in this season of their lives, there's a little bit of untangling that we've got to do with this narrative of not having permission to do anything. or going back to our first point, kind of shrinking yourself, right? And now you're going to show up in spaces that might scare you to death, but you're going to do it anyway. So one of my beautiful clients has that type of narrative that she's worked through, that many of us have worked through. And for the first time ever, she is starting to post videos of herself singing on YouTube, on Instagram, and showing up in online spaces. We've talked a little bit about this before, right? About how online singing can feel a little bit more high stakes because it's out there on the internet. But going back to our episode from last week too, Sophie reminded us that also because of the vastness of the internet, it also moves really, really fast. And so she's decided, I'm going to use this online stage to put myself in a situation where I am performing, where I am being seen, where this narrative of be quiet, move on, do something else that's quote unquote more serious, it's almost like her resistance. Her joy, her passion for singing, she's using that to show up for herself. And it's almost like, nope, I'm not going to listen to these voices anymore from past stories, from things that were told to me when I was a child. I'm no longer doing that. I'm showing up for myself. And let me tell you, she's not waiting for things to be quote unquote ready, quote unquote perfect. You know how I hate that word perfect, okay? She's showing up with her voice, and what she's doing, it's really actually a smart thing to do. And this is how she does it for herself. She's not waiting for a really fancy camera. She's not even performing entire songs. She's performing little snippets of songs, maybe 15, 20 seconds a cappella on her feed. And that's all it is. And what's happening is she's actually interacting with other singers online, okay, who are saying, oh my gosh, I've never heard that song. Or, oh my gosh, I'd love to hear maybe the second verse. She's drawing inspiration not only from herself, but also in an online community space as well, who are like, she's finding camaraderie in those spaces. She's using this as a wonderful way to practice putting herself out there so that when the time comes for her to actually perform in front of an audience, which is a live audience, I should say, in person, which is one of her goals. Now, when people are like, oh my gosh, where else do you sing, or where can I find you? She can point them to her social media pages. They can hear more of her and enjoy her presence and enjoy her voice. So if you're like, I don't know, but you also have this desire to market yourself and let people know that you do sing and that you want to collaborate, you're open to performing live with other people, why don't you just try posting either a 15 or 20-second clip this week? It doesn't even have to be with a karaoke track. It can just be a cappella, just like my friend does, and see what happens. I'll even give you another cop-out. I don't want to call it cop-out. That's not the right word I'm looking for. I'll give you another, why don't we say floaty? Proverbial floaty when you try this. Why don't you just try recording it first? Don't post it. Just practice the art of recording it. Let it sit for another week. Then the following week, if you haven't felt any certain kind of way about it, post it and just see what happens. And you know what? You can go back and delete it if you want to. But this is practicing a muscle of marketing. And if you're serious about getting up in front of an audience, like I said, and collaborating with other musicians, this is going to be able to work that muscle. We live in a day and age where to market your music, social media is one of the most powerful tools that we have to do that. And it can suck big time because it can make you feel all sorts of ways. But if the desire is, I just want to share my voice, I love to sing, there's no ulterior motives that feel weird, right? Or sinister or even salesy, just do it. Just do it for the love of you get to see me do something that I love to do. So I hope that you feel fired up with these real life stories, and maybe they have happened to you. And if you have had a scenario where you're like, I can tell there is growth in my life because I used to do this and now I'm doing that, please don't hesitate to share. Feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. I'm pretty active there on messages. I want to just be able to celebrate that with you. And if this is something that you feel like you want someone to work with you one-on-one and be able to untangle some of the limitations that still exist either in your mindset or even vocally, you're not sounding the way that you feel you want to, this is exactly what we do inside of the Passionate Performer program. We have different tiers depending on your lifestyle, your schedule, what works best for you, so that if you can't see me for a one-on-one lesson, we can do some video coaching back and forth, and you can get support from your fellow members in an online community that is not on social media. And it's so lovely because every week I will put in a prompt just to spark some inspiration, like sing a song with a fall theme or from a fall movie. And we can share our voices with one another because yes, coach participates too. And you've got a whole library of resources from vocal technique to mindset to how do I start performing online, how do I craft a set list, and so much more. That link is in the show notes. And if you are interested in ongoing one-on-one coaching, I do have a mentorship program where I am taking new members currently. So you can sign up for a free 15-minute consultation where we can chat about your goals to see if and how that would fit for you in this season of your career and of your artistry. Thanks for listening, my friend. And if you found encouragement in this episode, don't forget to give us a like, rate us, leave a review. It helps us reach more passionate performers just like you. Nos vemos. Hasta la próxima.